students, welcome back to Savan Science Academy yet in a new lecture of 11th biology chapter Kingdom Plantae. So today we are going to start with the introduction of bryophytes, and in the subsequent videos we'll look into the types of the bryophytes, that is liverworts and mosses. Okay? So in this lecture we'll see something about bryophytes. Now Kingdom Plantae, as we all know, basically it has been divided cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptos are divided into algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. We finished with algae, so here we are with bryophytes. Now, first of all, bryophytes की अगर हम बात करें, again these are plant, what you can say, plant-like structures, simply because they are also green and they are said to be the amphibians of the plants, because these were the first plants which tried to come on to the land. So because basically algae were mostly aquatic, and bryophytes, these were the first plants who tried to survive on land, and they were successful also, because majority of the lifespan of the bryophytic plants, they they spend on land. But only thing is they require water for fertilization, because the gametes which are formed in this bryophytes, they are the male gamete, that is, which is the anthrozoids, which are motile. Female gamete is non-motile. So for the process of fertilization to take place, water is essential for these bryophytic plants. So they can live, means apart from reproduction, the rest of the plant body can survive on land, but basically for propagation, that is reproductive purpose, they require water. Hence they are known as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. So they are efficient, means they can grow efficiently. First of all, the plant body is also not, what we can say, very big, simply because in order to survive on land, generally the plant should have a good root system for anchorage, because whenever strong air currents will come, obviously then it can uproot the plant, and obviously if it wants to stand erect, then it has to go against the gravity, so the vascular tissues must be present. But bryophytes lack that, इसलिए majority bryophytic plants, they don't grow much taller, hardly 1 meter or so, ये उनका max height है. Majority are found, what you can say, prostrate, they are flat and they grow along the ground. Basically such kind of plants you'll find mostly in bryophytes. Again, first we'll look at the habitat. Obviously these are also moisture loving, that is moist shady areas, damp places, cooler places comparatively, where there is lots of water. Obviously water is essential for the reproductive purpose. So generally this type of habitat is more suitable for the bryophytic plants. Next, they play a very important role in ecological succession. In 12th standard you will be having the ecosystem related unit, where you will be studying this successions. So for any ecosystem to grow or to flourish, initially there is a beginning, and in the beginning, why? Because there is no, if suppose there is no life forms or other, what you can say, no plants, major plants, animals, say if it's an arid area, say it's a dry area, zero area, where there are only rocks, generally for growing of new plants, soil is necessary. So these mosses, that is the bryophytes and even lichens, these plants can bear harsh climatic conditions also. So they grow over these regions. They can grow also on rocks, and when they grow on rocks, they produce cracks, and hence it leads to formation of soil. So once soil is formed, the other plant, higher plants can grow over there. If plants are there, means food is available, so animals come over there, and such it builds up an ecosystem. So we can say these are the pioneers of an ecosystem, and hence they play a very important role in at the beginning of that ecosystem, and they make that land or make that region very much conducive and fit for the survival of the higher plant species. So they are very much important in that sense. So this is one of the advantage of bryophytes. Next we'll look at the body structures. So obviously the body is again thallus-like. Thallus-like means cannot be differentiated into root, stems and leaves. So if this is Rixia, See if I am drawing this. So it is also like, it looks like a feather like structure like this. Okay, look like leafy structure. It's flat, but it possesses some root like structures. Means again, stem like, root like, leaf like. They are not true stems, roots, true root stems and leaves. So they are root like structures, stem like structures, leaf like structures, which are still we find over here, because we cannot differentiate it into what, which are roots and leaves and all. So if you see, they have a thallus body, means again root like, stem like, leaf like structures are present. So that is one thing. Second, it is prostate. Prostate matlab chapta, flat. Mostly they grow along the soil. Okay, they spread erect. Matlab what you can say, vertical growth is less, but the horizontal growth is more in such kind of plants. Then there are some are erect also, as I mentioned, and they are attached to a substratum. Obviously, from where these rhizoids, root-like structures, rhiza stands for root, so root-like structures actually. So there might be unicellular rhizoids or multicellular rhizoids. Means simple, if this is the cell, suppose this is a single cell, so that only will form that unicellular rhizoids, and multicellular means they are made up of many cells. So from the base of these plants, you can find unicellular or multicellular rhizoids. Obviously, this is meant for anchorage and what you can say, for minerals and water absorption. एक जरूर है, the plant body at least is well differentiated as compared to algae. Algae में differentiation ढूंढना बड़ा मुश्किल था. Brown algae थोड़े बहुत हमें sorted नजर आते हैं, because we can see brown algae like they have hold fast like root like structures, then stipe, frond, we can make out something. Others in majority of algae we just see a green mass, so you cannot differentiate it clearly. At least here little bit differentiation is possible at least, okay, as compared to algae. So that is one of the important feature and the difference that you will find. Then the main plant body is again haploid over here. So how these are produced? So we'll just quickly look at the life cycle, how it is formed. So जो main plant body होती है, that is we call that as a gametophyte phase, and which is haploid. ठीक है? Now this is the actually plant body which we see. ठीक है? Normally when they are growing in the region. So the plant body itself is haploid, and that is in gametophytes, because this plant body is going to produce a multicellular sex organs. So they are going to produce multicellular sex organs, and obviously the male sex organ is the antherdium, and the female sex organ is the archegonium. So here you can see again, obviously these are haploid only, simply because the original plant body is also haploid. So they will produce sex organs some time in the lifespan, and then the antherdium and archegonium, these are the two sex organs which are multicellular ones. Then these antherdium will produce the male gametes, which we call it as anthrozoids, okay, which are biflagellated, so they are motile, here you can see. And in archegonium it forms a, what you can say, a single large ovum, or what we can say is single egg, the female gamete, which is non-motile. So simple है, इनका flask like structure होता है like this, and it is covered with cells, and whereas at the tip there is a lid cell. We'll see in the liverworts and mosses how they reproduce, and in this they have the female gamete, which is non-motile over there, whereas the male gametes are found in anthrozoids. This is also spherical globular structure, which is also covered by ring of cells and the lid cell, and inside this you will find biflagellated anthrozoids. So what these organs will do, as I mentioned, they require water, so they will absorb water, and this lid cell will burst open. So this will release the anthrozoids into the water, then they are going to swim through this. Similarly, during that time this female gamete is going to absorb water such that the lid cell bursts open. Obviously these gametes will release some chemicals, because towards that chemicals these anthrozoids are attracted, that is chemotaxis, and eventually when these male gametes will meet the female gamete, they will form a diploid zygote. Now remember, the zygote is diploid, but the original plant body is haploid. So another structure is formed which we call it as sporophyte. It is different from the, but it grows on this gametophyte. It grows on this because this sporophyte is non-green, so it cannot live freely. So it derives its nourishment from the main plant body. So this grows on the main plant body, which is the gametophyte, and some cells of these sporophytes will undergo meiosis to form haploid spores, and those haploid spores will regenerate back the new plant body, which is the gametophyte. So again it will grow, flourish for a while, and then it will again produce its sex organs, and this cycle continues. So if you see, majority of the lifespan over here is it consists of haploid stage only. Only for a while there is a diploid stage. Rest of the life, main plant body spends its life mostly in haploid stage. So the gametophytic phase, we say, is a dominant phase over here. This is the gametophytic phase. Sporophyte is very short-lived, or for a very small time period. We see those sporophyte phase. Sorry for that. So this is the life cycle of general bryophytes. मोर और लेस सबका यही तरीके का मोड है. थोड़ा बहुत स्ट्रक्चर, ऑर्गन्स में थोड़ा बहुत शेप में चेंजेस हो सकते हैं. We'll see in the subsequent lectures. The economic importance of bryophytes क्या है? So obviously they can very little but yet important, like sphagnum moss, mostly in the taiga tundra regions. Below the snow you'll find this moss, which is helpful for reindeers, and even humans can also eat it. So it acts as a source of food also, because it is rich with carbohydrates. Then it also has a good water holding capacity, so it acts as an excellent packing materials to transport some living organisms like aquatic, like crabs, lobsters. Okay, if you want to keep them fresh, so generally we don't, when we catch them, we don't kill them, we will store them in moss, so they also feel they are in aquatic medium, because it has a great water holding capacity. So it acts as a great packing material. Later on we can remove those organisms life from that moss. So it also has a very good water holding capacity. One more thing, when these moss grow, they they cover the entire soil. So what it does is, it makes a thick a carpet of the moss. The moss forms a carpet like structure, which you can see, and this actually helps to prevent soil erosion. Why? Because when the rain water falls, it actually doesn't directly hit the ground, it hits these plants. So obviously the impact of the rain water directly hitting the ground is minimized, thus reducing soil erosion. So they act as a carpet for preventing that soil erosion, because rainwater can't directly hit the ground surface because the ground is entirely covered with this moss. So of bryophytes, so they act like shock absorber, like basically, or rather they decrease the impact of the rainwater, and hence there is less soil erosion. Even they have root like structures which kind of holds the upper end of the soil. So they are very essential for the ecosystem, as I mentioned over here, for plant succession, and that is where the concept of pedogenesis comes. Pedogenesis is formation of soil. So the region which is barren or which has rocks, okay, now there is no soil to grow for the plants, the higher plants. So these are such organelles like lichens, some of the mosses. They are flat, they grow generally flat on rocks, so they can have maximum photosynthesis, but they can survive this. And what they do, when the root like structures penetrate the rocks, it breaks up into small particles, eventually forming soil, and this event is known as pedogenesis. And thus, as mentioned, bryophyte plays a very key role as plants. Means we can say these are the pioneer species. Pioneer मतलब जो उस इकोसिस्टम की शुरुआत करेगा, ठीक है, जहाँ पे फिर बाकी एनिमल्स आके उसका फायदा उठाते हैं, and they survive over there. So these were the beginners, pioneers of where the origin of this ecosystem started, and eventually they make the region conducive for other animals and plants to grow. So hope so. Introduction of bryophyte ये काफी हद तक clear है. Obviously they are divided into basically two, liverworts and mosses. We also find one more subdivision, that is hornworts. Okay, so we'll see this in the subsequent lectures. So we'll see about how mosses and liverworts, how they survive, what is their life cycle, the sexual reproductive cycle, asexual reproduction कैसे करते हैं individually, like liverworts and mosses separately. So you like, I hope so you all love this lecture. Keep your love like this only, and keep liking this video, share it with your friends, subscribe the channel. Thank you.